The Galaxy Council Chamber was the largest structure ever built by intelligent life. It floated in the empty space between three star systems, a monument to cooperation and peace. For 12,000 years, the Council had governed the Orion arm of the Milky Way galaxy. 847 species sat in this chamber, making decisions that affected trillions of lives. Humanity had joined only 300 years ago. They were the youngest species in the Council. Many of the older races looked at humans the way adults look at children, who did not yet understand how the world works. Admiral Park Junho stood at the center of the chamber. Above him, thousands of alien faces watched from their seats. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no faces at all, just floating masses of light and energy. Junho kept his back straight and his expression calm. Behind him stood 50 human delegates, all wearing the same dark uniforms. "The vote is complete," announced High Arbiter Velen. He was a Mirathi, a species known for their 4 eyes and their belief that they were superior to everyone else. His voice echoed through the massive chamber. Humanity's request to colonize the Outer Rim territories is denied. Again, Junho did not react. He had expected this result. "The Council has decided," Velen continued, "that humanity is too unstable for expansion. Your species is emotional, unpredictable. You fight wars among yourselves. You cannot even agree on simple matters within your own government. Until you prove that you have matured as a species, you will remain within your current borders." Ambassador Kim Yuna stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 60 years fighting for humanity's place in this chamber. 60 years of asking politely. 60 years of being told no. "High Arbiter," she said, her voice steady, "humanity has been a member of this council for 3 centuries. In that time, we have followed every rule. We have paid every tax. We have sent our ships to defend council space during the border wars. We have asked for nothing except the same rights given to every other species." The Crocian ambassador laughed. He was a massive creature with 8 tentacles and skin that changed color with his mood. Right now, his skin was bright yellow, the color of amusement. "The same rights?" he said. "Little human, your species has existed for only a few thousand years. My people built starships when yours were still living in caves. You have not earned the same rights." Several other delegates laughed. Yuna heard whispers in languages she did not understand, but she knew they were mocking her people. She looked at Yunho. Something passed between them. Silent conversation that needed no words. They had prepared for this moment. They had hoped it would not come, but they had prepared. "Then we have nothing more to discuss," Junho said. His voice was quiet, but somehow it carried through the entire chamber. "Humanity formally withdraws from the Galaxy Council. Effective immediately." The laughter stopped. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Velen leaned forward, his 4 eyes blinking in confusion. "I do not think you understand what you are saying, Admiral. Withdrawal from the Council means losing access to trade routes, losing protection from our fleets, losing access to technology and medicine and resources." "We understand," Junho said. "You'll be alone," Velen said. "Completely alone in a dangerous galaxy. Your species will not survive a century." The Crocian ambassador's tentacles waved with amusement. "Let them go. They will come crawling back within 10 years, begging for help. Perhaps then they will learn some humility." More laughter filled the chamber. The sound bounced off the walls and echoed in the vast space. "Why?" Yuna smiled. It was a small smile, cold and knowing. Several of the delegates who saw it stopped laughing. There was something in that smile that made them uncomfortable, though they could not explain why. "You misunderstand the situation," Yuna said. "We are not leaving because we cannot survive without you. We are leaving because we finally understand that you will never change. For 300 years, we believed that if we were patient, if we proved ourselves, you would accept us as equals." She paused and looked around the chamber, meeting as many alien eyes as she could. "You were wrong. You do not want equals. You want servants? Species that will follow your rules and accept your judgment and never question your authority. That is not who we are." "Pretty words," Velen said. But words do not power starships or grow food or protect borders. You need us, Ambassador. Whether you admit it or not, Junho stepped forward. Hi, Arbiter. May I ask you something? Velen nodded, his expression smug. In 300 years, how many times has humanity asked the Council for help? Velen opened his mouth to answer, then stopped. He looked at his assistants. They checked their records. None, one of them finally admitted. Humanity has never requested Council assistance. How many times has humanity provided help to other species? Gunho asked. More checking of records? The silence stretched longer this time. 4,732 documented instances, the assistant said quietly. We built hospitals on worlds the Council abandoned, Yuna said. We sent food to species dying of famine. We created emergency response systems that saved millions of lives. We did this because it was right, not because we wanted something in return. She stepped closer to Velen. You called us emotional. You were right. We feel things deeply. Compassion, empathy, love. You see these as weaknesses. We see them as our greatest strength. She turned and began walking toward the exit. The other human delegates followed. You are making a mistake, Velen called after her. A terrible mistake. Yuna stopped at the door. She did not turn around.
Oh.
Hi, Arbiter. You made the mistake. 300 years ago, when you decided that kindness was weakness and cruelty was strength. We simply took too long to realize it. The doors closed behind them. In the chamber, the alien delegates sat in uncomfortable silence. Some of them felt a strange sensation they could not name. It felt almost like fear. 3 months passed after humanity left the Galaxy Council. At first, nothing seemed different. The delegates laughed about the foolish humans who had thrown away their future over pride. They made jokes about how soon the humans would return, begging for food and medicine and protection. But then the reports started coming in. Watcher Torek was a Veshan, a species of reptile-like beings who served as the Council's eyes and ears across the galaxy. His job was to monitor ship movements and report anything unusual. On the 93rd day after humanity's departure, he noticed something strange. Human ships were leaving. Not just a few ships. All of them. Cargo vessels that had carried goods between 100 worlds. Medical ships that had traveled to the poorest colonies. Research stations that had floated in orbit around dying stars. Mining platforms. Passenger liners. Military escorts. Millions of ships moving in perfect coordination toward the edge of the galaxy. Torek reported this to the Council immediately. Hi, Arbiter. Velen dismissed his concerns. Let them run, he said. The void beyond the galaxy is empty and cold. They will freeze or starve, and we will be rid of them forever. Torek could not stop watching. Something about the movement of those ships disturbed him. It was too organized, too calm. These were not the actions of a desperate people running away. These were the actions of people following a careful plan. The first crisis came. 2 weeks later, the planet Varash 7 was a small world in a forgotten corner of Council space. It was home to 3 million Kalor, a species of gentle beings with soft blue skin and large, sad eyes. The Kalori were poor. They had nothing valuable to trade. The Council had classified their world as economically insignificant, 2,000 years ago, and had forgotten about them. But humanity had not forgotten. For 200 years, a human medical station had orbited Varash 7. Human doctors and nurses had treated the Kalori for free. They had brought medicine and food and clean water. They had built schools and taught Kalori children to read. On the day humanity left, the medical station went dark. The human staff simply walked to their ships and flew away without a word. Within 1 month, disease swept across Voroshevan. The Kalori had no doctors of their own. They had relied completely on the humans who had helped them for so long. They sent messages to the Council, begging for help. The Council did not respond. Varash 7 was economically insignificant. Sending aid would cost money that could be better spent elsewhere. 15,000. Kalari died in the first wave of sickness. Torek learned about this and felt something twist in his stomach. He began investigating more carefully. What he discovered kept him awake at night. Humanity had built things across the entire galaxy. Not big, obvious things. Small things. Quiet things. Things that nobody noticed until they were gone. Emergency response networks that answered distress calls from any ship, regardless of species. Free hospitals on 300 worlds, treating beings that the Council had abandoned. Food distribution systems that fed the hungry. Shelters for refugees from wars the Council ignored. All of it built and run by humans. All of it gone overnight. Commander Lee Tai-Wu was one of the last humans remaining in Council space. He commanded a small ship that had stayed behind to ensure all humans were safely evacuated. Torek managed to contact him before he left. "Why?" Torek asked. "Why did you do all this? For species that were not your own? For people who gave you nothing in return?" Tai-Wu was quiet for a moment. He was a young man with tired eyes and a gentle voice. "Because they needed help," he said. "Is that not reason enough?" "But the cost," Torek said. "The resources? Your own people could have used those things. Our people had enough," Tai-Wu said. "These people had nothing. The choice was simple." Torek struggled to understand. In Vessian culture, you helped your own people first. You helped others only if there was profit in it. The idea of giving freely to strangers made no sense to him. "What will happen to them now?" Torek asked. "The Kalori and all the others?" Tai-Wu's expression changed. It became hard and cold. "That is no longer our concern. You wanted us gone. We are gone. The galaxy is yours now. All of it, including the parts you ignored for thousands of years while we quietly kept them alive." "We did not know," Torek said. "You did not care to know," Tai-Wu replied. "You were too busy laughing at us. Too busy calling us primitive and emotional. Too busy denying us the right to exist as equals." His ship began to power up. Torek could see stars reflecting off its hull. "Wait," Torek said. "Please, can you not leave something behind? Instructions? Resources? Anything?" Tai-Wu looked at him with something that might have been pity. "We tried to teach you for 300 years. You were not interested in learning. Some lessons can only be understood through pain." The communication ended. Tai-Wu's ship jumped to faster than light speed and vanished. Over the next 6 months, 140 worlds faced humanitarian disasters. Species that had survived for millennia suddenly found themselves without medicine, without food, without hope. The Council scrambled to respond, but they had no systems in place. They had never needed them. The humans had always been there, quietly doing the work that nobody else wanted to do. High Arbiter Velen called an emergency session. "We must find replacement systems," he announced. "We must build new hospitals and response networks." "With what resources?" asked the Crocian ambassador. His skin was no longer yellow. It was gray, the color of worry. "Our budgets are allocated. There is no money for charity work." "Then we must reallocate," Velen said. "From whose budget? Yours? Mine?" The arguing continued for hours. No one wanted to pay. No one wanted to sacrifice. And across the galaxy, people continued to die. Torek watched the debates from his monitoring station. He thought about Tai-Wu's words. About lessons learned through pain. He was beginning to understand. 1 year after humanity left, the Galaxy Council made a decision that would change everything they believed about the universe. They sent spies into abandoned human space. Agent Reichel was the best operative the Vessian Empire had ever produced. He had infiltrated enemy governments, stolen impossible secrets, and survived situations that would have killed anyone else. The Council gave him a simple mission: enter human territory and learn. Why they had left so suddenly, Reichel took a small ship and crossed the border into what had once been human space. He expected to find abandoned colonies, empty stations, perhaps some useful technology. Left behind in the rush to leave, what he found instead made him question everything he thought he knew. The first human colony he visited was a world called New Sol. It had been home to 50 million humans before the departure. Now it was empty. Buildings stood silent under a gray sky. Streets that had once been filled with life were covered in dust. But the technology remained. Reichel walked through an abandoned factory and stopped breathing when he saw what was inside. Manufacturing machines that could build starship engines in hours instead of months. Energy generators that produced 10 times more power than the best council technology while using half the fuel. "This is impossible," he whispered to himself. He had studied human technology for years. Council scientists had classified it as developing and primitive. They said humans were at least 200 years behind the average council. Species, they had been completely wrong. Reichel continued his investigation. He visited shipyards where human warships had been built. The designs he found there made his blood run cold. Weapons that existed only in council theoretical research. Humans had built working versions. Energy shields that council scientists said violated the laws of physics. Humans had installed them on every ship. Engines capable of traveling faster than anything the council possessed. Humans had mass-produced them like simple tools. For 300 years, humanity had shown the galaxy only a fraction of their true capabilities. They had pretended to be weak. They had let other species mock them and deny them and treat them as inferiors. And all along, they had been the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Reichel sent his findings back to the council. The response was immediate panic. High Arbiter Velen called another emergency session. This time, no one was laughing. "This cannot be accurate," the Crocian ambassador said, his skin white with fear. "Our scientists examined human technology many times. They found nothing special. The humans showed us what they wanted us to see," Reichel explained via holographic transmission. "They built 2 versions of everything. A simple version for council inspection. A real version for their own use." "Why?" Velen demanded. "Why hide such power? With this technology, they could have conquered us all." "That is the question I asked myself," Reichel said. "So I kept investigating. I found someone who could answer it." He stepped aside and another figure appeared in the transmission. She was a human woman with long black hair and intelligent eyes. Her name was Han Sora, and she had been a scientist at one of the abandoned research stations. "Dr. Han chose to remain behind," Reichel explained. "She wanted to observe how the council would react to humanity's departure." "Why did your people hide their true abilities?" Velen asked, his voice shaking slightly. Han Sora smiled. "It was not a cruel smile, but it was not friendly either, because we were testing you," she said. The chamber fell silent. "Testing us," Velen repeated. "When humanity first discovered faster-than-light travel, we found a galaxy full of intelligent life. We were excited. We thought we had found friends, allies, perhaps even family. But we had also learned from our own history. We knew that power without wisdom leads to destruction." She paused, choosing her words carefully, "so we decided to hide our true strength. We joined your council as a weak, primitive species. We wanted to see how you would treat us. Would you welcome us as equals? Would you help us grow? Or would you use your power to control and dominate us?" "We did not dominate you," Velen protested. "No," Han Sora agreed. "You simply denied us everything we asked for. You laughed at us in your chambers. You called us emotional and unstable. You treated us as children who needed to be managed." She leaned forward. "But that was not the real test. The real test was how you treated others. The weak species. The poor species. The ones with nothing to offer. We watched how your council abandoned them. We watched how you let them suffer and die because helping them was not profitable." "We cannot help everyone," Velen said. "Resources are limited. Resources are limited because you choose to spend them on weapons and luxury and power," Han Sora replied. "Humanity built hospitals and schools in emergency, systems across the galaxy using less than 1% of our total resources. We did more with almost nothing than your council did with everything." The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "What was the purpose of this test?" Velen asked quietly. "To find out if this galaxy had species worth trusting, worth sharing our true technology with, worth calling friends." She was silent for a moment. "You failed." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. We failed, Velen repeated. What does that mean for us? It means we are leaving. Not just this council. This galaxy. We have built a bridge to Andromeda, and we are taking everyone who wants to come with us. The species you abandoned, the people you ignored, they are coming with us to build something new. Something better in us? The Crocian ambassador asked. What happens to the council? Han Sora looked at him with something that might have been pity. You stay here with whatever is coming. What do you mean? What is coming? But the transmission ended before she could answer, and in the council chamber, 847 species sat in terrified silence, wondering what horrors awaited them in the dark spaces between stars. The Galaxy Council spent months arguing about what Han Sora had said. Some delegates believed it was a bluff, a trick to make them afraid. Others thought humanity was simply running away from problems they could not solve. A few suggested sending ships to follow the humans and demand answers, but Watcher Torek was not interested in arguments. He was interested in truth. He pointed his most powerful sensors toward the edge of the galaxy, toward the direction the human ships had traveled. What he saw made him fall out of his chair. A hole in space, not a natural phenomenon. Not a wormhole created by dying stars. This was something built, something engineered. A doorway large enough for entire fleets to pass through. They actually did it, Torek whispered. They built a bridge to another galaxy, recorded everything, and sent it to the council. Within hours, every delegate was watching the same images in stunned disbelief. The wormhole hung at the edge of the Milky Way like a wound in reality. Its edges glowed with energy that council scientists could not identify. Through its center, they could see stars that belonged to another galaxy entirely. Andromeda, 2 million light-years away, but now connected to their own galaxy by a tunnel through space itself. And through that tunnel, human ships were flowing in an endless river of metal and light. How many? High Arbiter Velen asked, his voice barely a whisper. Millions, Torek reported. Perhaps billions. Not just human ships. I am detecting vessels from the Kalor, the Vastari, the Morwen, and at least 40 other species. At the species we abandoned, the Crocian ambassador said. He had not spoken much since Han Sora's transmission. His skin had turned a dull gray and stayed that way, as Torek confirmed. It appears humanity invited them to come along. They are all leaving together. Velen watched the endless stream of ships and felt something he had not felt in centuries. He felt small. He felt insignificant. He felt afraid. Can we follow them? He asked. No, the council's chief scientist reported. We do not have the technology to create such a wormhole. We do not even understand how it works. To develop this capability would take us perhaps 1,000 years. Perhaps more, so they are gone, Velen said. Forever? Not quite, Torek said. I am receiving a transmission. It is coming from the last human military vessel in our galaxy. They want to speak with us. Put it through. The holographic display flickered and a human face appeared. Captain Choi Minho was a young man with dark hair and calm eyes. Behind him, Torek could see the bridge of a warship unlike anything the Council had ever built. Screens displayed information in languages no translator could read. Officers moved with quiet efficiency. High Arbiter Velen, Minho said. I am the last human military officer in the Milky Way. My ship will be joining our people in Andromeda shortly. Before I go, I have been asked to deliver a final message. Speak, Velen said. For 300 years humanity lived among you. We came in peace, hoping to find wisdom and friendship. Instead, we found arrogance and cruelty. But that is not why we are leaving. Minho paused, and something in his expression changed. He looked older suddenly, tired and sad. We are leaving because of what is coming. What has always been coming. The scientist mentioned this, Velen said. What do you mean? What is coming? The reason humanity developed such advanced technology was not ambition or greed. It was survival. Long before we joined your council, we discovered something in the void between galaxies. Something ancient. Something hungry. Minho pressed a button and new images appeared on the council's displays. Sensor readings from human deep space probes. Images of shapes moving in the darkness between stars. Things that were not ships, not creatures, not anything that had a name. We call them the Devourers, Minho said. They have existed since before the first stars were born. They sleep in the empty spaces, and every few million years, they wake up and feed. They consume everything, stars, planets, entire civilizations. The council delegates stared at the images in horror. This is not possible, the Croatian ambassador said. We have monitored the void for thousands of years. We have never detected anything. Because you were not looking, Minho said. Because you believed you knew everything there was to know. Humanity found them 300 years ago. We have spent every moment since then preparing. Preparing for what? Or the awakening. It is happening now. The Devourers are waking up, and they are moving toward this galaxy. They will arrive in approximately 50 years. 50 years. The number echoed through the chamber. Why did you not tell us? Velen demanded. Why did you keep this secret? We tried, Minho said. We asked for resources to expand human territory so we could build defensive stations. You denied us. We asked for permission to share our technology with other species so we could prepare together. You denied us. We asked you to listen, and you laughed at us. His voice grew harder. You thought we wanted to expand because we were greedy? You thought we wanted to share technology because we wanted influence. It never occurred to you that we might be trying to save everyone. What can we do? Velen asked. How can we stop them? You cannot, Minho said. Not with your current technology. Not with your current attitudes. Perhaps if you work together, if you share resources and knowledge instead of fighting over them, you might develop weapons capable of resistance. But you have 50 years, and you are starting from almost nothing. Will you help us? Minho was silent for a long moment. No, he finally said. You made it clear that you do not want our help. You made it clear for 300 years. We are done offering what you do not want. Please, Velen said. The word felt strange in his mouth. He had not said it in a very long time. We were wrong. We were fools. But there are trillions of innocent people who had no part in our decisions. Children who have not yet been born. They do not deserve to die for our arrogance. Minho's expression softened slightly. No, he agreed. They do not. He looked at something off screen, then back at the council. Humanity will be watching. That is all I can promise. We will be watching. The transmission ended. The wormhole at the galaxy's edge began to shrink. Within an hour, it closed completely, leaving nothing but empty space. Humanity was gone. And somewhere in the void between galaxies, something ancient was waking up. 50 years passed. The Galaxy Council changed in ways that would have seemed impossible before humanity left. Old enemies became allies. Species that had fought wars for centuries now shared technology and resources freely. The mocking laughter that once filled the council chamber was replaced by serious discussion and careful planning. Fear had taught them what kindness could not. High Arbiter Velen was still alive. Though he had grown old and tired, the weight of his mistakes pressed down on him every day. He had spent 50 years trying to prepare the galaxy for what was coming. 50 years of building weapons and training soldiers and hoping it would be enough, deep in his hearts. He knew it would not be. The day the Devourers arrived. Velen was standing in the council chamber, reviewing defense reports. A young aide rushed in with terror on her face. Hi, Arbiter. Long-range sensors have detected something emerging from the void. Something large. Velen closed his eyes. Show me. The holographic display activated, and Velen saw the end of everything. They came from the darkness between galaxies like shadows given form. They were not ships. They were not creatures. They were something else entirely, something that existed outside the laws of physics and reason. Some were larger than moons. Some were larger than planets. They moved through space without engines, without fuel, without anything that made sense, and they were hungry. Fleet. Admiral Nasha of the Veshan Empire, commanded the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 40,000 warships from every species in the Council. Weapons that had been developed using every secret, every resource, every desperate idea the galaxy had. Produced in 50 years, she led them to intercept the Devourers at the edge of Council space. The battle lasted 6 hours. Velen watched the reports come in with growing horror. Weapons that should have destroyed stars did nothing to the Devourers. Shields that could withstand supernova explosions failed in seconds. Ships that tried to retreat were caught and consumed. Their crews screaming until the communications cut off. 40,000 warships became 30,000, then 20, then 10. Admiral Nasha's final transmission showed her bridge in flames around her. "Hi, Arbiter," she said, her voice calm despite everything. "I have failed. The Devourers cannot be stopped. I recommend full evacuation of all core worlds. Save who you can." The transmission ended. Her ship was torn apart moments later. Velen stood alone in the council chamber. The other delegates had fled to their homeworlds, desperate to spend their final days with their families. He did not blame them. There was nothing left to do here. The Devourers had broken through the defensive line. They were moving toward the galactic core, consuming everything in their path. Stars went dark. Worlds vanished. Trillions of lives ended in moments. And then his communication console beeped. Velen looked at it with dull eyes. What did it matter now? But old habits made him answer. A human face appeared on the screen. A young woman with short hair and kind eyes. She wore a uniform that Velen did not recognize. "Hi, Arbiter Velen," she said. "My name is Yoon Hannah. I am an officer in the Human Defense Force." Velen stared at her. You are human." "Yes. Humanity has been monitoring the situation in your galaxy. We know what is happening." Something that might have been hope flickered in Valen's chest. He crushed it immediately. Hope was too painful. "Have you come to watch us die?" He asked, to see the consequences of our arrogance. Hannah's expression softened. "No, High Arbiter. We have come to help." "Why?" "We treated your people terribly. We denied you everything. We laughed at you and mocked you and drove you away. Why would you help us now?" Hannah was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was gentle. "Because you asked." "What?" 50 years ago, when Captain Choi Minho delivered our final message, you said something that we did not expect. You said, please. You admitted that you were wrong. You asked us to think of the innocent people who would suffer for decisions they did not make." She smiled sadly. "We heard you, High Arbiter. We have been arguing about it for 50 years. Some of us wanted to let you face the consequences alone. You had earned it," they said. "You had proven that you did not deserve our help." "They were right," Velen whispered. But others argued differently. They said that humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our weapons. It was our compassion. Our inability to walk away from suffering, even when we had every reason to. Hannah looked at something off-screen and nodded. In the end, compassion won, as it always does with us. Behind her, the holographic display changed. Velen saw new images appearing from sensors across the galaxy. Wormholes opening at 100 different points. Human ships emerging in endless waves, but these were not the ships that had left 50 years ago. These were something else entirely. Larger. Stranger. Built for war against gods. "Humanity has spent 50 years preparing to fight the Devourers," Hannah said. "We developed weapons specifically designed to hurt them. We trained soldiers specifically prepared to face them. We built a fleet specifically meant to destroy them. You could have stayed safe in Andromeda," Velen said. "You did not need to risk your people for us." "No, we did not need to. But we wanted to. That is the difference between us and you. We could not abandon you. Even when we tried. Even when you gave us every reason to hate you." She paused. "You called us emotional, High Arbiter? You were right. We feel things deeply, including forgiveness." The human ships engaged the Devourers. For the first time, the ancient horrors felt pain. Human weapons tore through them. Human soldiers fought without fear. The darkness that had consumed stars began to retreat. Velen watched with tears streaming down his face. He was not sure when he had started crying. He was not sure he cared. Why? He asked one final time. After everything we did, why would you forgive us? Hannah looked at him with eyes that held no anger, no bitterness, only a profound and terrible kindness. Because that is who we are, she said. Humanity does not give up on people. We do not abandon those who need us. We do not let old wounds stop us from doing what is right. She smiled, and in that smile was 300 years of pain and 50 years of waiting in an ocean of compassion that Velen could not comprehend. We never stopped caring about you, she said. Even when you made it so hard, the battle raged across the galaxy. It would take months to drive the Devourers back into the void. Many more would die before it was over. But for the first time, there was hope. Velen sank into his chair and watched humanity save the galaxy that had rejected them. And finally, after 350 years, he understood what they had been trying to teach him all along. True strength was not power. True strength was kindness in the face of cruelty, compassion in the face of hatred, love in the face of fear. True strength was choosing to help even when you did not have to. Humanity had always been the strongest species in the galaxy. It had just taken everyone else a very long time to realize it.